So, in my last video, I kind of talked a little bit about the power of music, and I wanted to expand upon that more because I've gone through swings of all media, all consumption of podcasts, music, audiobooks, TV is bad because I went so far in the other direction of distracting myself with podcast, TV, and music and never having time just to be alone with my own thoughts. And you kind of find this, at least when you first start off for me, you kind of swing to one direction, then you swing back really far in the opposite direction, then you swing and you kind of find this middle place of balance. But there is a wonderful thing music can do, and it's to elevate your mood and your emotional state to a level that you cannot naturally do by yourself without the help of it. And for wrestling, I would use it because I would get freshman, sophomore year, I'd get very, very nervous before my matches, especially because I wasn't the most fit person. Even though I had the skills, I had the technique, I was like this little chubby kid. Not really chubby, but like I had a little bit of belly, and I kind of just be there in the weight room, everyone in their boxers and me weighing in wrestling. I just like have my little belly here, and I'd hear the other kids like, "Oh, I got that one," and they'd be pointing at me when I step on the scale because like everyone kind of does it. You're like, "Oh, who's the 160 from this team?" and everything. And I would notice them pointing at me, and then they kind of smile. And in the back of my head, I'm just thinking, like, you have no idea what you're in for, buddy. Because I somewhat enjoyed it, but I somewhat enjoyed being this kind of chubbier guy who was still super strong and had technique, and I would absolutely demolish them. But I can't say it wasn't a little bit intimidating when you have this dude who's 2 inches taller than you and has a six-pack and is absolutely jacked, and you're like, well, now I have to face him. Like, I had to wrestle this one kid who decided to wrestle one year, but he was like the Black Hulk. I mean, this dude, I don't know how the hell he was 182, but he looked like he was about 200 pounds, and he was All-American for football and committed to D1 college. But for some reason, he decided to wrestle, and he had very little technique, but he was just absolutely massive and stupid strong, and you can just get caught. You can get caught by people who are that athletic. Luckily, I didn't, and I was able to beat him, but I would use music. I'd use the song Hall of Fame to, like, get me out of my head, to pump me up and get me in the emotions of, like, let's go take this guy down. Because at the start of the match, you cannot go out there expecting to lose. And I couldn't sometimes control that thought, and I would just have these thoughts of insecurity, and I'd use music to elevate them. Sometimes I find myself sad and like something happened in my life, and I can use music to elevate my mood to a place that I can't get to without it. At least a place that I would struggle to get to because I wasn't as mindful and as conscious of how to get there at the time. So there is a wonderful thing that music can do. It can help you experience emotions that you normally have trouble experiencing. But I also know many people and have friends who will listen to music for 5, 6, 7 hours a day, and they kind of always have it on in the background, and they're like, it helps me think. I'm like, does it? Does it actually help you think? And I used to have a similar thought to this when I would be doing SolidWorks or doing programming of, oh, if I put a TV show on in the background, it helps me think. I get into this flow state, and I kind of focus on the TV show, but my mind and my hands just kind of already know what they are going to do. Similar to right now, I'm on one wheel skateboarding, and I'm not focusing on the skateboard itself, but I am talking to the camera, and the disassociation between the two of them kind of allows me to flow and not put as much thought into my words, because I'm having to spend a decent amount of my brain power to stay on the scooter. So there is a benefit to it, but at the same time, you're also distracting yourself from the task at hand, and whether or not, like, how do I put this? Sometimes when I put the TV show on, when I put the music on to keep me entertained, to keep my thoughts in a flow state, and I would kind of go unconscious to it. I'm not saying it's a bad state to be, or that state is even unhelpful to be in, because right now I'm on the skateboard. I'm finding this very helpful for making this video, for staying in a flow state. But what I will say is, when you go unconscious like that, when you go into the flow state of doing the task and having something distract you, you're not always aware of whether or not that task is actually something that you should be doing at that point in time. So you can get lost down these paths of flowing, not being all that conscious to what you're doing, and you will spend 2-3 hours doing this, and then you'll kind of snap out of it. You might have to go pee or something, and you're like, is this something I should have been doing? Is this something that I actually wanted to be doing? And that's something that's a thought you would have had a lot earlier if you were not distracting yourself. It's a thought you would have had earlier if you weren't having your mind focus on something besides the work at hand and allowing for other thoughts to pop into your head. So, like with everything, it's a balance. But if you do use music to distract yourself, if you do watch TV shows or other things in the background while you work, I would only ask that you consider switching it up a little, change your habits, maybe spend every other day not doing that. Maybe take a break every other hour and notice the differences in your thoughts, and actually be conscious of whether or not that is a good habit, rather than staying in that habit because it's just something that you're used to. So, peace out. All right, quick update. I was describing to my brother that I find it helpful sometimes to skateboard while talking on YouTube, and he said, yeah, it just kind of helps you disassociate from overthinking. And I was like, that's basically what I was trying to say the whole time. And overthinking can be helpful sometimes in terms of questioning whether or not that's something you should actually be doing. But sometimes you can't stop yourself from overthinking, so having music on, having something else on can help with it. But just make sure you stay conscious to your habits and that you're making that choice each time, instead of derping or defaulting into that state without consciously choosing it. And like always, meditate and stay conscious.